Ma Israel, Adonai Elohim, Adonai Echad. Toda Abba, Toda, Toda Abba, Toda, Toda Abba, Toda, Toda Abba, Toda. Toda Abba, Adonai, Toda Abba, Adonai, Toda Abba, Adonai, Toda Abba, Toda Abba, Toda Abba, Adonai. Beautiful scenery to be found just by the side of the road. There's a fast going road over there, and here is a slow traffic road. This is a typical village look here in Bavaria, Germany. But this is more modern. This is all built after the war. And we are standing in the industrial part of the village where the companies are, where the recycling center lives, where there are farms and farmland, and in between are planted companies. And all that is framed by those beautiful hills of the Old Mill Valley, Altmühltal in German. And there's another little hill over there. So we're in the Altmühl Valley. And the nearest rivers are the Altmühl over there, which right now that is the canal that has been built by mankind behind those trees to connect to the Altmühl, which is an old river, Altmühl River. And over there is a small creek, and that small creek is called Sulz, which probably nobody in England or America can pronounce it. Sulz. As you can see, the houses in Germany now have solar panels on their roofs. And as typical in Bavaria, there's greenery everywhere. I started this week's sermon on a site that is so unlikely to be seen, which is horse and rider. Beware horse and rider. And horse and rider gives us a very good topic, the topic of authority. Are you the horse or are you the rider in your life? Now, as the children of God, we all are faithful horses, carrying the spirit God gave us. But we have a free will, and we can go and throw off that rider and just do whatever we like. But as we do whatever we like, we're also assuming power. And with power comes responsibility, and with responsibility comes accountability. And there is a rub. Because as much as power seems to promise freedom, accountability and responsibility frame that very freedom. Over there you can see a cat. It's not delicate. Delicate has joined the Lord in heaven, as has Mangoline for that matter. The king is now without his princesses around him, and yet I can smile. And yet I have faith. Because faith is not depending on the circumstance. Faith is independent from circumstance. Gratitude is not depending on circumstance. Gratitude is the best attitude that we develop when the times are rough or when the times are mellow. When it's rough or when it seems impossible to go on. We develop faith, we develop gratitude in the dire times as in the wonderful times. Because look at the trees growing year after year just by the street. Look at them having the faith that they will survive the onslaught of humankind, which is unkind in nature. Our engines burn fuel, but worse than burning fuel, they're burning oxygen. They're burning oxygen away. And the trees keep producing oxygens, so we can stink our cars under their noses. How generous and kind are trees? What all can we learn from them? Who is the horse and who is the rider? When you find yourself on a road and you don't know where to go, and you seem to be trapped between two parallel roads, of which none of them promises you to give you a hint where it will lead you. So when you're stuck in this middle way, if you looked at it from above, like God looks at it, with unchanging grace and love, there is an H here. Here is a H here. It's the one side of the H. There the other street is the other side of the H. And this is the horizontal line. H like horizon, sorry. H like the horizon, but also H like his children we are. If you're a pagan, her children we are. Now look at this beautiful sight here. Young trees are growing and they are maple. Young maple leaves are growing here by that little creek. That little creek that maybe is connecting the Sulz and the Altmühl, the Old Valley and the Sulz River. Just as unlikely as this sight of young life growing next to old, and that road that connects two parallel roads that we don't know which one to take, for none of them seems promising to be an easy journey. We have got something quite impossible indeed. Here it is, as unlikely as a pink church. Who knew? Look at that majestic beauty. It has been built at the end of the 18th century. And it's been standing still. It is one of the Catholic churches dedicated to the Saint Mary, to the Mother of God. And a lot of pilgrimage has been done, for this is a pilgrimage church. As unlikely that there would be a pink church in the heart of Bavaria's Altmühl Valley. As unlikely it is that during a pandemic, during these times, in the middle of the week, or at the end of the week, but not on the weekend and not during the opening hours of a church, Saturday night, Sunday, that this church would be accessible. That's highly unlikely. Just as it is unlikely that we would take accountability, responsibility for our lives when we want to be the rider. Or if that pressure seems too much, rather be the horse and be led by a rider greater than us. How can we build gratitude in the times of tempest? It's easy to be grateful during the sunshine, but how do you stay grateful? How do you stay humble? How do you become humble in the first place, and how do you stay humble and grateful through the times of the sunshines and through the times of tempest? It is as unlikely as a pink church in the middle of the Altmühl Valley. Somebody stopped by the church. It is just as unlikely to happen. A church where nobody stops by now has a visitor. Many visitors come like this bee. Many visitors stay like these faithful rocks. Sometimes we're not able, capable, knowledgeable, trained enough to have that obedience to God throughout all the times. Too often we are like a wild Mustang horse who wants to throw off the rider and say, no, no, this is inconvenient. This is not good for me right now. No, no, I don't want to be ridden by a God that forbids me all the fun, that takes away all indulgence, that asks me obedience and faith at the face of inconvenience, tempest and storm. How can the impossible be made possible? But with the rider that is God. And when you find yourself in the difficulty to obey and to do as you are told in the Bible by the Lord, this is when you take a trainer and let the trainer ride the horse and help the horse develop that trust, that feeling of absolute surrender to the power of the Lord. Hevenu shalom aleichem, Hevenu shalom aleichem, Hevenu shalom aleichem, Hevenu shalom, shalom, shalom aleichem.